YouTube viewers, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is a show by the people, for the people. And you, my friends, are my people. We love to see the interaction, so join our growing community and chime right in. It's the way that we like it here. On today's program, Luka seeks revenge against the Dallas Mavericks, and he even trolls his old general manager in the process. And which recent guest on the Ricky Cobb Show has landed in political hot water? We're going to get to that later, as well as a lot of other good stuff. But let's begin with, I don't know, this might be my favorite feud in politics in a long time. James Carville and Stephen A. Smith. James Carville, we discussed on this program recently with some choice words for Stephen A. Smith, saying, Stephen A., you may know a lot about sports, but you need to keep your ass out of politics because you don't know nothing about it. We got 6 or 7 Democrats that are at least as good as you. And Stephen A., hearing those words from James Carville, even cursing, can you believe that? Taking exception to what the Democratic strategist had to say and firing back strongly. Let's listen to Stephen A.
All it takes is a few weeks and a few phone calls with people that I can clearly talk to because I got them on speed dial. It ain't that hard. It's just not a lane I want to venture into in an official capacity. I'd much rather remain a pundit and a commentator. But if you really, really think, James Carville, about what I said, you've been saying the exact same things. Which brings me to the culminating point of my diatribe. That, dare I say, might make you a bit uncomfortable. Is what I said really the problem? Since most of what I've said are things that I also heard you say? Or is it the fact that some novice who doesn't know his ass from a hole in the wall when it comes to politics is resonating in the political stratosphere more than you?
Are you suggesting I'm jealous, Stephen A. Smith? You think I'm desperately trying to hold on to relevancy while I'm drinking my beer and talking about everything, this whole Democratic Party going to hell in a handbasket? Well, I could get behind this. Just sign me up for the James Carville, Stephen A. Smith debate. I don't need Stephen A. to run for president. I just need somebody to stick a microphone in front of Stephen A.'s face and James Carville's face in the same room at the same time, and we can fucking do this, as far as I'm concerned. Stephen A., he says he would rather just be a pundit. I'd rather be a commentator, but Stephen A., deep down, it seems like he loves the fact that he thinks that the people are drafting him. The people want him. He's the people's champion, Stephen A. Smith. All he'd have to do is make a couple of phone calls. Just listen to him. You don't know your ass from a telephone, Stephen A. Smith. You need to call somebody and have them give you a clue. I don't know. We'll stay tuned and see what happens there. I'll tell you that Stephen A's not the only person who might be looking to clap back at those that he feels have treated him unfairly. Luka Doncic is perhaps riding the revenge train, some might say. The Lakers facing the Mavericks last night in Los Angeles, and Luka hanging up a triple-double, 19 points, 15 rebounds, 12 assists, and the first push-ups that motherfucker has done in years. You can see there during the pregame warm-ups, Luka making a point of doing push-ups in front of Nico Harrison, the Mavericks general manager who was in attendance in LA, sending a little message to him. There he is, glaring at him. Some saying that this is one of the photos of the season. So yeah, Luka doing his first push-ups. He was like Bill Murray in Stripes. Remember when he won $5 from Harold Ramis for doing a few push-ups? I don't know. If Luka's anything like me, after about that third one, the arms were getting a little shaky. So he went out and he balled and did well. So the Lakers certainly looking like they're getting the better end of that exchange to this point. Anthony Davis obviously still out with an injury, and the fact that Anthony Davis is over 30 years old and the kind of guy who gets nagging injuries at this point in his career is one of the many reasons that people felt that that trade was not a good idea for the Dallas Mavericks in the first place. I can tell you that there are a lot of federal workers who don't think it's a good idea that Elon Musk asked them to cite 5 things that they did at work the previous week. We've all been watching this story unfold. Donald Trump recently telling Elon Musk to get more aggressive. I like what Elon's doing, but I want to see more of it. Elon taking Javier Milei's chainsaw, easy for me to say, waving it around, and one of the things that he's going to work on is trying to figure out who in the federal government is actually a real sentient human being who's sitting at a desk somewhere and actually doing something. And Donald Trump says asking for 5 bullet points of what you did at work during the course of a week is entirely reasonable. Let's listen to 47.
We have people that don't show up to work and nobody even knows if they work for the government. So by asking the question, tell us what you did this week, what he's doing is saying, are you actually working? And then if you don't answer, like you're sort of semi-fired or you're fired, because a lot of people are not answering because they don't even exist. They're trying to find, that's how badly various parts of our government were run by, and especially by this last group.
Do you have any difficulty how hard it is to answer an email when you don't exist? They're not going to be getting answered. So they're just wanting to see who's out there. Look, you don't have to give the best answer. I don't get the impression that they're taking too much of a red pen to this. It just seems like they want to know that you're doing something since you're a part of the federal government and you're being paid to do a job. So I have to commend Donald Trump there. He seems sincere. I was expecting a little bit more of this kind of energy here. McDonald's, are you hiring? Kamala Harris, we can't find any evidence that she ever worked there, but Joy Reid, every time that I pass by McDonald's, it looks like they're hiring and they've got opportunities, and I hear that you're out of work. So Joy, there might be a spot on fries for you. You can go back there and help people have a great McDay with service with a smile. Although right now it might be hard for you to smile given the events of what happened over the course of this past week, losing your status on MSNBC. Rachel Maddow talking on air about the decisions that have been made, coming to the defense of her friends such as Joy Reid and Lester Holt, who are now out over there. MSNBC is in a tizzy. And speaking of tizzies, Chris Kluwe. We talked about Chris Kluwe on this program recently, the former Minnesota Vikings punter who went to a city council meeting, and I believe it was Huntington Beach, California, if I'm not mistaken, and he went in there and he practiced some good old time-honored civil disobedience, just made a bunch of dumb comments and then laid down face first in the floor and made everybody carry his sorry ass out of there. He's still talking about how he's deeply, deeply concerned that the new Nazis are here. And of course, we know who that means that new Hitler is. Let's roll tape.
I believe we're on the path that Nazi Germany went down under Hitler. And I say that as a political science and history major, as someone who has studied history. And the parallels are very, very clear. This administration is trying to erase trans people. This administration is trying to put obedience over duty to the country. This administration is trying to thrust our country into turmoil in order to reap power for themselves.
You might say, who is Chris Kluwe to have such a strong take about this, to speak so freely, to throw words like Nazi Germany around and fascism and all of the allegations that we've seen from Chris Kluwe. But counterpoint, this motherfucker's got a bachelor's degree in government. So that qualifies him to come out and just say any fucking thing that he wants to. You know who else has a bachelor's degree in government? This guy that you're looking at right now. So I'm going to negate your bachelor's degree in government, Chris Kluwe, and say that you're talking shit. I'm just going to go James Carville. You don't know what you're talking about, Chris Kluwe. You need to just get your foot out and kick a football, get it out of your mouth. Because every time I hear you say something about Donald Trump, Nazis, fascism, you just got a big old foot in your mouth. You need somebody to put a foot in your ass. It's what you need. Can we do James Carville and Stephen A. Smith? I just want to see it. I just want to see it. Laurel Libby was on this program. Oh, we got Helen Keller here. I'm sorry. Where the fuck did Helen Keller come from? Helen Keller making history in 1887 when, despite being blind, deaf, and practically mute, she still somehow communicated better than Skip Bayless. I still don't understand the Helen Keller lore. You know, there are people out there who are Helen Keller deniers, I believe. I haven't dipped too deeply into that conspiracy theory, but I believe that there are those who don't believe that Helen Keller was legitimate. There's also people that don't think Stevie Wonder's blind, for that matter. But let's talk about Laurel Libby, Maine representative, who we just had on this program a couple of days ago, pointing out on social media and facing a firestorm of criticism for doing so that the individual who just won the female pole vaulting championship in the state of Maine at the high school level is a trans female who, as recently as last June, according to Representative Libby, just 8 months ago, was competing in the same event as a male. And we had Laurel Libby on this program, and among the other things that she told us is that in the state of Maine, they don't have any sort of hormone level testing for transgender athletes who are competing across gender. All right. So how did you do this before the executive order, which is being ignored by Maine Governor Janet Mills? How did they determine in Maine whether or not you were fit to compete as a transgender athlete? Again, according to Representative Libby, the only thing you had to do was declare that you were of the other gender. And that was it. No hormone testing, none of the stuff that they do in the Olympics, which I still don't think is enough, but nothing whatsoever. Okay? Let's go to Riley Gaines on this matter. Riley, OutKick's own Riley Gaines, who has been such a voice on the subject of transgender athletes.
The chair understands that the member does not intend to submit an apology to the body. The member will be in violation of House Rule 401, Part 11. The member will not be able to cast a vote or speak on the floor until the member has come back into compliance with House Rule 401, Part 11. The member may return to her seat.
And there you see the tweet from Riley Gaines saying America is behind you, and retweeting the video of Representative Laurel Libby being censured in the Maine House, being censured for the, I suppose, the transgression of simply pointing out that there is a biological male winning state championships in women's high school sports, girls' high school sports, however you want to look at it. And simply the recognition of that is so hateful, so offensive in deep blue Maine that she's going to be censured for that. But Riley saying America's with you. And in fact, if you look at the polling on the issue, as we have said many times, an overwhelming majority of Americans now stand together in the fact that we believe that biological males competing against biological women is an unfair, illegitimate form of competition. Free speech continues to be on the rebound in this country, although we certainly see that it's a battle that is going to be fought on many fronts. Laurel Libby being censured just for exercising her free speech to simply point out something that is objectively, factually happening in her state. So let's not forget that we've still got a lot of people in this society that would love for you to shut up when you're saying things that they're not a fan of. But the culture overall is heading in a healthy direction. To wit, Jeff Bezos, who owns the Washington Post, sending out a note to his team this morning saying, "I'm writing to let you know about a change coming to our opinion pages. We are going to be writing every day in support and defense of two pillars, personal liberties and free markets. We'll cover the other topics too, of course, but viewpoints opposing those pillars will be left to be published by others." How about that? Jeff Bezos, the Washington Post, the good old Washington Post, suddenly the emphasis is going to be on free speech and free markets. Imagine that. Absolutely crazy. It's like hitting a hornet's nest with a wiffle ball bat. I can't imagine what's going on with the journalist today at the Washington Post. I absolutely promise you they're having a collective freak out over there right now because personal liberties and free market. Wow. How can you imagine a newspaper in the United States prioritizing those two distinctly, profoundly American principles? Seems too good to be true, and yet it is true. 2025, off to a much better start than 2024, and I will now welcome to the program to elevate the start of this show, the international streaming star who joins me from still Chicago, Illinois, I believe. He is Ronnie T-Shirts. And Ronnie, that is quite a turn of events here. Jeff Bezos saying we will be writing every day in support of free speech and free markets. How about that?
Doesn't it just feel like, though, that if the pendulum ever swings back, which, gosh, I hope it doesn't, they're going to change again? It's like they're like a weather balloon. Whatever way the wind's blowing, they're just going to do that. Just seems a little disingenuous to me. Like, why not do that 6 months ago, 8 months ago? If you know and you think it's the right thing to do and it's the way to be, why did it take Trump being elected for you to change your tune? It just seems a little kind of the same. I feel the same way about, like, with Zuckerberg and others in that arena.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Zuckerberg got the same criticisms. Where was this heroic pro-free speech?
Well, you want me to pat you on the back now, Bezos? Like, no.
Yeah,
patting you on the
it's
back.
like you're going to sit
I'll pat you on the back if you did it 8 months ago.
Yeah, coming along now. It's what's politically expedient now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and throw Jeff Bezos a pep rally. But again, coming back to what I said earlier this week, elections have consequences. And this is a consequences landslide election. It wasn't Reagan beating Mondale like a rented mule in 84. It wasn't Nixon kicking the crap out of George McGovern in 72. It was pretty close, but man, it lets you know what a razor's edge we walk on culturally and how fine the line is. How fine the line is. Because we are seeing a cultural reset that is much more decisive than the margin of victory. And so while I agree with you, I'll be cynical about Zuckerberg and Bezos as well and say, okay, this is great. And, it's like, it's kind of like looking around and like seeing who's going to win and then stepping over onto that side of the equation, right? It's like, okay, I want to be with the winners now, so I'm going to go join the winners. But look, there's still room on Team America. So for whatever the motivation is, if he's serious that we're going to see this with the Washington Post, it's a good day nonetheless, regardless of what the reasoning is. Ronnie, Stephen A. Smith coming back with some hard words for James Carville. Before we move forward with other stories, Ron, what are your thoughts on Stephen A. getting his feathers ruffled by the old serpent, James Carville?
I think you're right. I think Stephen A's enjoying this. I think he's he loves the spotlight, and now the spotlight's shining even brighter on him right now. So I just think he loves it. And every time he says something, then he's just volleying. I can't even say the word, volleying back, and it's going to come back to him. And he's just going to keep this going. That's always trying. It just keeps him in the public eye, which he loves.
Yeah. His protests. He's loving everything about it, dude.
Absolutely.
Anybody who is as much of an attention whore as that guy, he's loving every single bit of it. He's probably getting up every day hoping and praying that somebody says something about it. So James Carville just sat one right there on a tee for Stephen A. And
Yep.
Stephen A. made the most of it. Ronnie, we've got a Big Ten squabble going on. Well, it's a little bit of a squabble. Matt Painter, the head coach of the Purdue Boilermakers, saying to IU fans, hey, you got to support your coach. Let's listen to Matt Painter, and we'll get your thoughts, Ronnie.
It's like anything. Like, you got to get a good person. You got to get a good coach. You got to get a guy to understand it. They've had a lot of turnover, obviously. I think you got to look at some of the common denominators here more than anything. I think that's an important piece right here. Like, don't beat yourself. Like, let's support somebody. Like, I try that out for once every now and then. When goes wrong, like whatever, you think Purdue fans are happy about what just happened? Like, you like, see, a fan base isn't the people that tweet. A fan base is the people when you're bleeding, they support you. Like, they jump in and off, they jump on and off things here way too much. Like, support your coach, man. Support your players. Don't tweet negative things about them. Like, be supportive. Like, see how that works for you. But they build them up, like, and they overdo things. Like, quit overdoing shit. Just accurately, like, talk about what's actually happened.
All right, Ron. IU obviously has a great basketball tradition. That tradition it's been a while, man. You look back at IU really over the course of the last 10 plus years, and they haven't had a lot to cheer about. Mike Woodson is going to be out at the conclusion of this season. What do you make of it? Where's the line between fans showing their displeasure and fans being unfair to a coach or a program?
I think the line is, go back to Ryan Day in Ohio State, because that's what I know the best. When you're making death threats or being, I guess, really, really mean to Ryan Day's family and things like that, then you're going over the line. But the fans are the fans for a reason. They ultimately pay the salaries. They pay everything through, consuming it on TV, which the advertisers are paying for, to tickets, to merchandise, to all that stuff. And if you're not doing the job, fans are allowed to say anything they want up to that point. And again, like I said, the death threats and the being overtly, I guess, mean. There's kind of a line there, but I think Painter's absolutely wrong here.
It's Indiana business. You keep Indiana business out of your mouth, Matt Painter. Is what I say. Nobody wants to hear the Purdue guy. I know enough about my my Indiana friends. They definitely don't want Purdue's coach telling them what they can.
It almost, Ricky, it almost sounds to me like he's trying to just kind of lay the groundwork for when the Purdue fans start coming after him for one reason or another. Like, just kind of long playing.
Can't we all just get along?
Yeah. I don't know. They get paid a lot of money, Ricky. When you get paid a lot of money, I don't think it's okay to go in and just criticize the hell out of some employee someplace that's making, $8 an hour, just, doing the best they can. But you're making $8 million. Part of making $8 million is you're going to get criticized.
Exactly. It's like the dude in the NBA who compared it to slavery, right? It's like, okay, it's like you live in an outlier profession. Yes, it sucks that you could have to get up and move across the country at the whim of somebody else, but you're also in a profession where you're making like $10, $12 million a year. Yep. And that goes with it too. So if you're going to complain about all of it. And you're not complaining about the amount of privilege that you have with your salary. Ron, the only thing that I really care about is I want coaches to dress like coaches again, is what I want. Can we get some sports jackets and ties on? Basketball coaches should still wear fucking suits. And I'm not changing my mind with the times on this one. The COVID era, everybody started dressing down like they were your junior high PE teacher. And then somehow we all just decided that post-pandemic, that was okay. I want to see my coach. Did you see at the Four Nations face-off, Ron? Hockey coaches still dress with some gravitas. NBA guys now just...
They still wear suits in the NHL, right?
It's lost something.
The NHL coaches wear suits too, don't they? Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly right. So I don't know why the NBA moved away from this, but they lost something important. Speaking of Indiana basketball, take a look at this. Ron, one of the most iconic moments in Bobby Knight's career came when they were losing a game at Assembly Hall to Purdue, losing to Purdue at home, and Coach Knight wasn't having the officiating, and there it is, throwing that chair, one of the most famous moments in Bob Knight's career, something that we've seen many, many times. But take a look at this. Mike Woodson has the chair, and he sat in it this weekend while coaching against Purdue. Is that not fucking amazing? That is the actual chair that Knight threw, and Woodson coached from it this weekend, which is fucking unbelievable to me and great.
What's unbelievable is that was 40 years ago, dude. Like, oh my God, I'm old. Like, I was in college when that happened.
That's what it sounded like when doves cried, Ron. What the fuck, Ron?
So we have done, gosh, I don't know, what are we at, 130 shows or something like that? So getting close to, I don't know, 150 to 200 what the fucks. This might be, personally, if I was in this situation, the biggest what the fuck ever. So a couple from Australia was flying from Melbourne to Venice, and they had to make a stop in Doha, Qatar. They were on Qatar Airlines, and unfortunately, a woman passed away on the flight. She exited the bathroom, came out, and I guess kind of collapsed to the floor. So the story is she was a bit of a larger woman, and they couldn't get her body to the front of the plane where there were some empty business class seats because they were in the air and there was nothing they could do, Ricky. So instead, they asked a couple to scoot over, and they put her dead body next to them, and they had to ride the rest of the flight to Qatar next to a dead body.
God. How was your flight? Well, we didn't take off. We were 20 minutes late taking off. And they didn't have peanuts on the flight. And then somebody died and they sat him next to me on the aisle. What? Look at that. How was your
Dude,
flight?
Ricky, how do you...
They have the all-time bad flight story. I mean,
how do
that.
you recover from this? Like, how do you recover from having to sit next to a dead body? Like,
did they say it was okay? Like, you can put it here?
So
I
here's
gotta
the
think,
thing.
are they going to sue the airline? You put a
They have
dead
to do
body
something
next to
because-
me on the flight?
So according to them, there were empty seats on the plane, and they didn't say, you know what, we're going to put this corpse right here, and why don't you guys go, you know what, go sit up in business class or whatever. But they had to sit next to a dead body, Ricky. That's unfathomable
and that guy
to me.
was probably psyched when he got on the plane and the seat next to him wasn't taken.
Yes, that's what he
was
said.
Probably pumped
Yes.
up about that.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't have to sit next to anybody. I got more leg room.
Yep.
This is great. Well, check back in an hour.
I mean,
Good Lord,
listen, her
dude.
flight,
I
the lady that died, her flight was worse, but man,
Well,
she
doesn't have to live with the aftermath.
Yeah, your body's touching
Like this
a
couple.
dead body. That is just too weird, man.
Well, Tim's in my ear saying that she had to start smelling bad at some point. Look, I don't know the reality.
I don't know if you start to decompose that fast.
Decomposition. Oh.
I don't know.
Oh my God, Tim.
What'd he
saying
say?
that you
Share it with
expressed some
everybody.
Things. He said that you expressed some things in that state. Like, have you ever tried to fly across the country with a dead body farting next to you the whole way there?
Did we just name our podcast?
Can I get some earbuds? The dead lady next to me keeps farting and I don't like it. Could you ask?
I don't like
do
it,
you get extra
ma'am.
Biscoff cookies for that? Listen, when they roll that cart by and I'm like, I want a couple of extra packages of Biscoffs, they better give them to me. No questions asked. At that point, I'm just saying. Ron, what else? I don't know. It's going to be hard to follow that one, but WTF else, Ron?
So, a couple weeks ago, the Colombian president, Gustavo, I like saying that, Gustavo Petro, he said that cocaine is illegal because it's made in Latin America, not because it's worse than whiskey. And he added that scientists have analyzed this. Well, apparently that message did not get to the police at the Cartagena airport because they stopped a would-be smuggler from getting $10,000 worth of cocaine onto the plane. You can see here, he put it in his toupee.
Wow.
So they unglued the toupee. It almost looks like a guardian cap.
Is that a guardian cap?
Yeah, we both said the same thing.
I think it is. Hey, it's the cocaine guardian cap. Prevent concussions and solve all your other problems simultaneously. I don't know, Ron. I mean, look, they used to put cocaine in cough syrup. The further back you go in this country.
Well, wasn't it in Coca-Cola too?
Yeah, I believe that there were trace amounts in Coca-Cola at one time, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it used to be. Look, I said I'm not going to go that far with cocaine. I think cocaine's bad news. But I used to say, how is Ricky Williams being suspended from the NFL for smoking pot when you watch a ball game and it's just beer commercial, beer commercial, beer commercial, beer commercial?
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.